What's happening, Rebels? Welcome back to the channel. I've got some better equipment now, still waiting on some better lighting, but bear with me while I get all that taken care of. So, let's head right into it. For as long as I can remember, I have been obsessed with Star Wars, and the Droideka has always been one of the coolest designs in my opinion. It's one of those things that always stuck with me from episode 1 as soon as I watched it. Like, those guys are so cool. So after months of planning, mostly in my head, but then deliberating with family, talking it over with my wife to see if it's something that she would actually be okay with me doing in the first place, she's absolutely supportive, very supportive actually. Couldn't do this without her. I'm finally diving headfirst into building my very own 3D printed Droideka. This project really is a dream come true. I can't wait to take you along for the ride. Today we're tackling the first big steps: buying the files, downloading the files, and printing our first pieces. We are actually going to be starting with the head, per the instructions on, well, not instructions, but tips and tricks from Droid Division themselves. They recommend starting with the head, gives you something tangible to really play around with and feel, and keep you motivated for the rest of the project, because it can get kind of I don't want to say mundane, because there's nothing mundane about this by any means, but it definitely can get daunting at times. So let's head right into it. Alright guys, so we start here at Etsy. We've got our download button here. You can hit that. I'm not going to, I've already done it, but it brings you to a link to come to a Google OneDrive or Google Drive account. Has all the files here. You can click into everything and just download your files from there. You can double click that, hit download. It's going to download it on your computer, and they are all set to go from there into whatever slicer you're using. For my sake, I'm going to be using Bamboo Studio. A lot of people really like Orca Slicer as well. Can't blame them at all. It is a great software, but for ease of everything for me, I'm just going to keep everything in Bamboo Studio. So we can do that. So from Etsy to Google Drive to your computer. From there, I have gone ahead and put everything into folders just for myself and my own sanity, but we can double click on that. For this demonstration here, I'm going to be using the back of the head. Double click on that. For me, it's going to open up Bamboo Studio right off the bat. Okay, so then here's our file. You can look all around. See, it's going to fit on the plate, no problem. Right here is the plate. Okay, you can obviously turn things around. A lot of the stuff with Droid Division's files are set up to be optimized for printing already. So really when it comes to orientation, unless you're moving things around to fit multiple things on a single plate, I wouldn't worry about doing any like auto orient or anything like that. Just leave the files exactly the way they are, except for when it comes to strength, because Bamboo Studio in particular, I'm sure I can save it. I'm not going to right now just because I change it for just about everything I do. But we want everything to be at least 1.2 millimeters. So what we're going to do here is we're going to up it to 3 wall loops, because the head is nothing structural. We don't need it to be ultra thick or ultra strong. Okay, so 3 loops will get us that 1.2 millimeter thickness because we're using a 0.4 nozzle. So 0.4 times 3, that'll get us to 1.2 millimeters. Okay, now we're going to leave everything here exactly the way it is still, just because I don't want to mess with that at all. But the infill density, we're going to go down to 7% on that. And really, that's the only thing that we should have to change here. This will print out just fine. Now, if it's a structural item, I'm going to be closer to that 15%, if not more. And then also we're going to up this to 4 for a structural item. But right now, like I said earlier, we're not dealing with a structural item here at all. So we're going to leave it at 3 and 7%. Then we can come here, slice the print. Okay, it slices it into the layers for printing. Okay, so you can see it actually takes this shape and cuts it into each individual layer, and that's what it's actually slicing. For the longest time, before I had a printer, I always thought slicing meant, oh yeah, it's a system that you can come in, cut up a piece to fit on the plate or whatever. And yeah, I thought that's what slicing was, but no, the system actually, think of it as a glue stick or a hot glue gun, and you are putting layers and building up a wall with hot glue. That's exactly what this is doing, just with hot plastic. Okay, so then from here, you can look it over. Different colors mean different things. So Here the top surface, that's obviously a top surface. Color codes it from there. You can print plate, it'll send it to the printer, and we'll go from there. Alright, time for some time lapse, guys. Lots of fun. Well, guys, here's the head. As you can see, it's about the same size as my head, obviously a little bit bigger. I did attach the neck already. This is going to be part of next week, going through that whole process. But yeah, it's coming along, guys. So needless to say, guys, this is just the beginning of my Droideka journey. Honestly, it's been a lot more emotional than I expected. To finally start a project that I've dreamed about for so long, it's really hard to explain just how awesome that is. And I mean, I remember just from being like 6-7 years old when I first saw this movie. I always thought, you know, the B1 battle droids, the super battle droids, well, episode 1 didn't have the super battle droids, but nonetheless, being a little kid, seeing all those battle droids, I always thought it would be so cool to have a life-size prop of those in the corner. And this is just the beginning of fulfilling that childhood dream. As I put pieces together, I always can feel like 6-year-old me just jumping out of my skin. Just absolutely phenomenal feeling that it's really hard to describe. So I'm sorry if I'm rambling on and on about this, but it's just so incredibly humbling to get to this point in my life. All right, Loki, how does that smell, huh? Yeah. First big order of filament coming in the mail. How does that feel? Right here are actually all going to be the same strength qualities to them. So these are very structural. As you can imagine, the legs, they're holding up the entire droid, along with some help of curtain rods, believe it or not. So if you'll notice that some of these files actually have holes in them, so the oval holes, then the circular holes in the bottom feet here. So we're going to get right into it here. These bottom 2 rows, as I mentioned, the exact same strength profile, so we're going to go up to 4 wall loops. Okay, as I mentioned last week, we want our structural components to be 1.6 millimeters thick. Right now we're printing with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Multiply that by 4, that's going to get you 1.6 millimeter thick walls. Okay, coming down here, we want our top shell thickness to be 1. Now Bamboo Studio reverts this back to 0 millimeters standard. We want this to be 1 millimeter on there as well. Now for structural components, we want this the 15% infill is actually perfectly fine, that bamboo automatically reverts to, but we are going to have triangles for our infill. Actually, this is the only piece that I printed with triangle infill just to give it a shot. I think for a lot of the structural components, I'm going to do the triangle infill from now on. Depending on what it is, sometimes it prints a little faster than grid, and it's obviously going to be stronger because triangle is the strongest shape that there is. So yeah, so that's really what we're looking at there. We're going to print this in triangle here. And just for an example, let's go ahead and slice this plate as we have it here. So we're going to slice this file. Got this sliced. Now, as you can see, we've got all of our stuff here. Tells you how many grams it's going to be. So this is just under a spool and a half of filament worth. For 3 leg pieces here. Total time to print is 23 hours and 41 minutes, so just under a full day of printing. Really not that bad for 3 whole pieces, especially pieces of this size. You can see it takes up the plate pretty well, and it's not the shortest thing ever. But if we really zoom in here, we can actually see our infill. So you notice our infill is actually triangles rather than squares now. So, alright, so as I mentioned, these 2 rows are all going to have that same strength profile. Now this row back here, other than these pins right here, this is not structural at all. This is all greeblies, texture things to give it more realism and detail that it had in the movies. So for these items here, we're going to come back to the strength. We're going to drop this down to 3 wall loops. Now the reason why we're not going down further, even if it is just a detail item and greebly, we don't want to go any less than 1.2 millimeters on anything on this droid. That's just kind of the standard when it comes to building droids and 3D printing pieces for these droids. So yeah, that's really just what we're going to keep it at. We're going to keep the top shell thickness at 1 millimeter, bottom shell at 1 millimeter. Now here's where it comes in. Okay, so we're going to actually drop the sparse infill density down to 6%. We don't need a lot of infill on this, so we're going to leave the triangles the way it is though, and we're going to slice this because I want to demonstrate with the slicer here. As you notice, it's a lot shorter print time because it's a much smaller piece, but 4 hours and 4 minutes, we're also not filling it with nearly as much plastic as the other items that we printed. So, and you'll notice here, the triangles, they're a lot farther apart. Still going to be nice and strong because they're triangles, but they're a lot farther apart than the other slice that we showed you earlier. So, let's get these sent over to the printer and ready for printing. So now we got all of our pieces printed here, laid out on the table. So we're going to start assembling this. Now I'm going to build one leg with you in real time here, and then we're going to do a time lapse for assembling the rest of them. I've got my cup of my little dowels here. I love that shaking sound. I need to print a lot more of them though, because this project requires a lot of those dowels. If I remember right, the PDF tips and tricks said there's going to be about 400 to 500 of those dowels. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just me spitballing off the top of my head. I know I read it. I just can't remember the exact number. So bear with me here. But let's get these legs assembled here. All right. So this is going to be our hip. This is what goes into the ball, so the main body, which is going to be next week. I've already got some pieces for that on the printer, but nonetheless, let's get going with this. So that slots into the body. We remember that. Then I do have some dowels already put into this piece here, but that's going to line up just like that. So there we go. Okay, now comes the leg part 2. Okay, so it's that swoopy piece there. Now we're going to grab some more dowel pins. Some of these dowel pins are a little bit tight, which is actually good. That's kind of what you want with building this. There's sometimes I gotta remember that I'm recording, so I'm not used to doing projects on camera, so I apologize if this is ultra noobish. But I'm having a lot of fun with this, guys. The channel has grown a lot since episode 1 of this Droideka build. Really seems like you guys have accepted it really well. I can't thank you guys enough for all your support in the comments, the likes, subscriptions. It's already performing better than I could have ever expected it to, so greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, and round of applause for all you guys. Seriously, it's absolutely phenomenal. So we've got majority of our leg here. Now, our foot for right now is going to be, for lack of a better word, floating right now. I don't have my pipes or anything to be able to put in these holes. Now, that's what's going to actually hold the foot onto the leg. You can call that cheating or whatever you want. It's not. I promise you, it's the way this piece was designed. It was actually designed to have metal rods and metal poles in the leg to be able to freestand on its own. That was one of the questions I got off of last week's video, was what's the base that's going to be standing on. This is a freestanding droid. This droid is massive and it's also freestanding. So just for reference here, that's going to be about right there. So take all the pieces away, and there you've got one leg. So let's get the rest of these assembled, guys. Alright guys, so we got our 3 legs assembled. Now here we're going to bring this one over here because I'm just going to demonstrate. Now keep in mind, everything right now is just doing a dry fit. We're not gluing anything together right now. We really just want to look at everything, make sure that it's fitting together properly, which everything so far is. These files, I know I say it a lot guys, but seriously, these files are extremely well designed. So you've got little greeblies like this right here, that you see this little dip here. I'm gonna prop this up. It's gonna just slot right there. It's gonna glue in place. All right, and then that's also what these domes here are. Well, I'll pick that up later. But anyway, you got these domes here. They do have dowel holes, so they do slot right there. And then the smaller ones are for the ankle piece here. So let me see if you guys can actually see that. Yes, you can. Perfect. So there's 2 on each, well, 1 on each side. So yeah, so that's what this is gonna be here. Moving right along, Rebels. For these prints, I used, surprise, surprise, my Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon. X1 Carbon is the only printer I have, but Bamboo has been absolutely phenomenal for me. Layer height is typical 0.2 millimeters, pretty standard for Bamboo. Print speed is just our standard print speed, nothing crazy. I'm not doing ludicrous speed or anything like that. Infill is set from anywhere to 10% to 20% on these pieces. This main body is where a lot of the structural components meet together, but it's also a very big main body, obviously. I don't want it to have a whole ton of weight resting on those structural components. So I want it to be strong, but I don't want it to be super heavy either. So I did not go below that 4 wall threshold, so that 1.6 millimeter wall thickness. off the bat here, guys, we've got our first few prints. You can see here on circular items, printers do have an issue here. This is all sandable, not a big deal. We'll get it taken care of. Hey guys, how's it going? Hey, so just getting some sanding done here, but I just wanted to stop in and remind you guys that piece by piece, we are getting this Droideka finished. Now, if you're as excited about this project as I am, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell for notifications so you stay up to date on this project and all my future crazy projects. And let's keep this momentum going. I gotta get back to sanding now. I get a lot of comments saying that these prints are like almost too perfect and how do I get my prints so good? Now, the camera does hide a lot of little crimes, but as you can see here, this slope, my printer's having a major issue with it. Down in the comments, please let me know if you've had this issue and what you've done to actually remedy this, because I have not been able to fix it even with, what's it called again, the adaptive layering and everything. You can see there's a crease there. Yeah, let me know down in the comments. I really want to hear from you guys on this issue. Now here as well, we have all of our small little greebly pieces. These are a bunch of the levers and really cool details that go on the front within the body. We are not going to be putting these actually on this week as a dry fit. There's just so much to it right now that I can't get it all done. But here's another piece I wanted to show you guys. So as you can see, a dome piece. Has a little bit of that banding and layering problem. I know I could lower my my layer height and fix a lot of this problem, but it's really not a big enough problem for me to worry about it. For the extra filament it takes to do it, not a big deal. This is one I tried messing with some settings. It definitely helped, but not really worth it in my opinion for what I gotta do. And now time for my favorite part of every week. That's the bell to get this all dry fitted and get a little bit of a sneak peek as to what this main body is going to look like when it's all put together. All right, let's get to it. I was doing the dry fit for the spine, because I actually went on and printed the spine as well. I know, overachieving this week. Wow. But anyway, guys, I might have to reprint at least one half of this. It might be hard to tell, but I'm holding this as flush as I possibly can. This one seems to be nice and flat. This one seems to have warped right at the very edge. It's hard to tell on camera, but there you might be able to actually tell pretty well. So yeah, I'll see if I can salvage it, but I might just have to reprint this, which is unfortunate, but it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. The 3D printers have been printing 24/7 for the past few weeks, turning this into a bunch of these so I can assemble that. But moving on, Rebels, we have got our pieces for the upper body and shield deflectors all printed up and ready to go. These parts of the upper body are some of the most detailed parts that are going to be part of this. It's also laying the groundwork and foundation for some of the most iconic images of this droid, whether it be the cowl hood on top of the droid or the big boomsticks, as Droid Division calls them, at the end of the hands. So let's get right into it. Before we dive in, Rebels, I have something really important I want to say. Building this Droideka is so much more than the parts or even the process going into it. It's really the people that have been here to support me through this entire process. I want to actually extend a thank you to all my friends, all my family, for being my biggest cheerleaders through this entire thing. And obviously, I want to thank every single one of my subscribers. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Coming out of the woodwork, supporting this build, giving me all sorts of great comments. Constructive criticism is absolutely welcome here. I applaud that, really. It helps me out, and it's great. This build is definitely financially taxing. I'm not sponsored by a corporate conglomerate. I'm not doing this for profit. Nothing. I'm doing this because I've wanted to do a Droideka build for as soon as I saw it, really. And as soon as I got my hands on a 3D printer, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Obviously, then that started this great series on YouTube, brought you guys along for the journey. I just love sharing this whole process with all of you. Really, I'm just a big nerd who's obsessed with Star Wars and 3D printing. I wanted to learn more about 3D printing, the software, the 3D prints themselves, how to get a nice, clean looking print. So with something like this, it was perfect for somebody like me. Diving head first, learning everything, making mistakes. It happens, guys. Even the best people out there make mistakes. It's normal, it's human. We can't shy away from that stuff. I made mistakes on these prints here this week again, and I'm going to showcase those to you. There's no reason to hide that. This is a big learning experience for me, but it's a really fun learning experience. And just wait until we get farther in and start painting and filling and whole 9 yards. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I really want you guys here for the ride. So if you feel so inclined, please share this with friends, family. Let's grow this little rebellion that's here in my cold garage right now, because it's dead middle of winter here in Fargo, North Dakota. Alright, so here we have a couple pieces of our upper body. As you can see, not the most perfect prints on the bottom. Now this is no fault of the printers, no fault of slicing, no fault of the files themselves. It actually is 100% my fault. So let me get this here. So, as you may remember from last week's video, the spine had some warpage on where it actually rested on the build plate. Now, I was researching how to actually remedy this issue, and I discovered rafting. Now, for those of you that don't know rafting, it actually builds, well, like a raft underneath the actual build plate. So that's why we have these here even over these holes here. So I got to cut these out, sand this down, make it nice and smooth. Not a big deal. Rafting is for more thin joints, and I also only did one layer here. And on this one too. That made it a real pain in the butt. My fingers still hurt from trying to peel this stuff off. So yeah, lesson learned, guys. Only do rafting on very, very thin parts. I have since changed my settings to help parts like the spine not warp. So cooling settings, not cooling so much. Warping actually comes from the pieces cooling too fast. So as you can see here, raft is on here. We got to take that off. Not a huge deal. We'll get that taken care of. No worries. All right, so this goes here. This goes there. Hello there. As always, everyone, I am documenting this Droideka build from start to finish. I'm glad you stopped by here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share with your fellow Star Wars fan, and yeah, we'll get this finished together. I gotta get back to assembling now. And here she is, guys, in all her glory. Excuse me. I gotta be honest with you, this is not my first reaction to this. I actually recorded my first reaction to it. I'll kind of overlay it here, but I lost all the audio for that, and it just ripped my heart out. So, but no, here we are with the finished product for this week at least, guys. Keep in mind, this is all just a dry fit. This is not glued together. It's not sealed, nothing like that. But this is way bigger than I even anticipated. Every week it just seems like it gets more and more real for me, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's getting really quite emotional for me, I'm not gonna lie, in the best way possible. It's just such a dream come true, and I'm so glad to have you guys here with me for it. So the printers have been cranking out parts this last week like crazy. It's a lot of smaller parts that don't take a lot of time to print, which is really awesome, but also overwhelming as well. So I've got everything that you see on the table here, as well, excuse the sound, as well as a whole box of pieces. That being said, Rebels, I have been racking my brain as to how to give a good, entertaining video this week, and I don't think I can do a dry fit of these parts. Really, we just have to go right into gluing everything together, starting with the legs and then moving on to the main body and assembling this beast, as you might say. Then you will recognize some pieces, such as these boomsticks, as they're called in Droid Division world. Yeah, it's it's absolutely phenomenal having these printed. This is actually two pieces. It just goes together extremely well. There we go. So it's actually two pieces. So this printed as one and this printed as one. It just slots right together there. So I guess we got a little bit of a dry fit this week, guys, but Again, I do apologize for not being able to get you a full-on dry fit to see how things are going to look, but I think in the long run, it's actually going to be for your benefit and my benefit. We're not actually going to see what this thing is going to look like all together until we are permanently gluing everything together. Now, as well as the parts that you see printed in front of you, I did go ahead and cut our pieces of interior structure for this droid. Now, I went out to Menards here in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm sure you can probably get these at Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that, but these are closet rods. They're oval closet rods. And these are actually pretty hefty pieces of metal, I'm not gonna lie. By myself, they weren't the easiest things to cut. I did have an extra hand, which helped out a lot. So thanks again to my dad for coming over and helping me cut these down to length. But we've got two shorter ones. These are going to be for the shoulders to hold these onto the main body, and obviously structural. Then when it comes to, excuse the sound. Then when it comes to these longer pieces, these slot into the legs. So, and also the main spine. You may have noticed last week when I was doing a dry fit of the spine onto the main body, it actually slotted over these oval poles. I did have some people ask me what they were, if I printed those, because honestly, in the footage that I lost the audio for last week, I did go over what these were, and I totally forgot to go back over and go over these in last week's video. So that's what these are. I've also got stainless steel round pipe as well. That's going to be to connect the foot to the ankle, actually, and I'll have some footage up here to showcase that as well. But I went ahead and glued one leg already, and let's go ahead and get the next two legs glued up and ready to go. Alright, Rebels, now that the time lapse of all the parts, well, not all the parts, that's maybe a third of the parts I printed, but now that that's out of the way, we can get right into gluing these legs together. Now, as you can see here, I do have one of the legs off to the left-hand side of the screen. That is all glued together well now. I started to do a time lapse of it, but since I'm doing everything on my phone, I got a phone call and it kind of stopped my time lapse. So here we are now into the other legs. Also, I had to get a little bit creative since these parts are so long. I had to take 2 giant zip ties and use those as clamps to hold a couple parts together, and then I'm going to move on to the next parts from there. But here you can see I'm putting some decorative joints on. I'm also using that as a clamp because that does have the alignment dowels on it as well, but worked out pretty well overall. Here you can see I'm taking those oval closet rods and actually cutting them down to the correct size. Me being the dummy I am, was doing it on a dining chair that we had spare in the garage. Not the most level or stable surface. It still got the job done, but yeah, it did not work well. I finally found a crate that my dad came and helped me out with, and we used that as a flat surface to get the rest of the pieces done. But nonetheless, got all the pieces cut down to size, went well after my dad got here and put me in the right direction. And here we have the pipe. I did mark off the end. This is actually the pipe that goes from the ankle down through the feet, so it's going to be able to hold itself up on its own merit, basically, without any external support, really. So here I'm just grinding it down, getting it to be flush with the bottom of the foot. So I need to grind away that blue mark that I made earlier. Here I'm taking the round part and just deburring the burrs that come from grinding that down. Worked out really well, actually a lot better than I expected, but these are some tools that my dad actually let me take out of his storage unit, so helped me out tremendously. Thanks again, Dad, for all the support, and all my other family for all the support that you've given me. I was actually debating skipping this week just because I wasn't able to do a dry fit of everything I wanted to do a dry fit for, but my wife, she actually told me that no, just here's what you can do, and she was absolutely amazing at getting me in the right direction for this video. I know it's not the most exciting one this week, but nonetheless, we're headed in a great direction with this droid, and we are going to get this done. Here you can see my pipe now is flush with the end of the foot, and we're good to go. And here it is, Rebels, our fully glued together leg. Now, as I mentioned earlier with these oval closet rods, there's going to be 2 of them that slot into each leg, just like that. The 3D printers printed for about a combined 2,000 hours to turn random spools of plastic into a bunch of these so I can assemble that. Let's get right to it. Yeah, you did a good boy. Yeah, all right. Jumping right into the cluster of a time lapse for this video. The top half and the bottom half of the main body are ready to be glued together. Gonna get into the drama that was this assembly here in just a second, but just wanted to at least show you guys what I went through for this. Put the JB weld on the bottom half, tried to put the top half on, wasn't working. Alright everyone, so we got a lot of gluing yet to do today. This is Sunday before this week's episode. Probably going to be the last day I have to work on this before I start editing this and do some final touches. So, yeah, got this here. I think I might splice this video in before my kind of frantic video in the moment, but I had a lot of trouble getting these 2 halves, so the top half and the bottom half of this main body actually sandwiched together. Sorry if it's all shaky, I'm just holding my phone here just like a vlog style. But nonetheless, had a lot of trouble with that. I should have known I was going to have trouble. As I was putting the dowels in, you'll probably see, or probably saw in the time lapse, I was using a hammer just to tap them in lightly, making sure not to mushroom the top of the dowel. But nonetheless, they were a lot more difficult to get in. Must have been a batch that just printed slightly different than the rest of my dowels. Not a huge deal, at least that's what I thought. But when I went to sandwich them on, one being a round shape like this is, it was really hard to actually press that top onto this bottom. And yeah, it basically got to the point where I got it 3/4 of the way on and it would not budge any further. weird shape. None of my clamps would fit. And then I was like, well, I got a good neighbor. Maybe he'll lend me some ratchet straps. He didn't have them immediately available. Not a big deal there. I called my dad. He wasn't immediately available either. Not a big deal. So I had to run over to Fleet Farm quick, because if any of you have worked with JB Weld in the past, you have maybe an hour before that stuff like dries and starts actually setting. So I'm stressing out to just no end at that point, and I'm like, I need to get ratchet straps now. I have some, but all mine are being used for other stuff. So I ran over to Fleet Farm quick. Luckily, it's really close, and picked up some cheap ratchet straps. And yeah, then I'll just splice in the next video of me in the moment, stressing out, trying to explain what the heck was going on, but not doing a very good job of it because anxiety. So, all right, check out. Okay, so quick update on gluing the two halves of the main body together. You can see I'm actually kind of sweaty. This was a much bigger ordeal than I was expecting, so sorry about the audio quality. I'm doing this just straight on my phone right now, but got it right here. I've got these ratchet straps that you can see are, I mean, I can play them like a guitar right now. Very strapped down. Yeah, I should have known that this was going to happen, being that the dowels were a little bit more difficult to get into the holes than anywhere else. Sorry. Again, still getting used to this whole filming thing. Camera, phone. I'm so used to looking at myself in the image. So, but got this on. Very difficult ordeal. Yeah, my young Padawans in the background, so excuse the noise there. But all is good. A little bit of drama this week, guys, but we got her. All right, so the ratchet straps have held these two halves together now overnight. Should be cured up just fine, no worries. Two of the straps actually came off just fine. Like obviously a lot of tension, so they snapped back. I actually ended up cutting my thumb a little bit on it, but there you can see the tension there on the last strap. But yeah, this strap here was not coming off for anything. I actually mangled it up when I was tightening it. That's how tight I got this, but I actually had to cut this strap off. Now, moving on to greebles. This is where some of the fun is, but also this is what makes it look like there's not a lot of progress that's done. But when in reality, there's a ton of progress that gets done. So here I am. I learned my lesson with the dowels not fitting in properly. So I actually chucked them into my drill and had some sandpaper and spun them into the sandpaper to grind them down just a little bit, smooth them out, make them an actual nice, smooth, round dowel. They slid in nicely, still nice and snug, but slid in nicely. Now here we have our oval closet rods. These are what are going to hold the legs into the socket here and keep them from swiveling. Now here, you might notice, the legs are actually pretty easy to get in, especially if you hit the right angle. I was trying to do this for the camera, so really not the best method of getting it in there. But got it in there, nice and snug. Say, if you like this project, which many of you have shown tremendous support, and I'm so grateful for that, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and share this with your fellow Star Wars fan. It would go a long way to help out this project and future projects. Also, like, subscribe, all the other random stuff that a lot of other influencers do. Also, guys, just wanted to let you guys know, look up Nerd and Out Con in Rochester, Minnesota. I will be bringing this droid. It probably won't be painted by then, but it should be all assembled by then. I will be bringing this to Nerd and Out Con to showcase it, also promote the YouTube channel. So if you're a subscriber or seen the videos or whatever, come out, say hi. It's going to be a really good time. All right, let's get back to the build. Come on, I couldn't help myself. If you know, you know.
Oh, no more. That's fine, yeah.
We need the sacred mixing bowl, mixing sticks, of course JB Weld, which is the lifeblood of this operation, and finally latex gloves, because while this battle droid might be battle ready, I don't want to be permanently bonded to my dining room table. As you can see here, I am actually mixing in the black and the white being the hardener for the black steel. Pretty simple, pretty basic really, if you will, but nonetheless important. Now we're going to lay down the spine here. I'm going to work some chiropractor magic on this droid. So we're going to dip each dowel into the JB Weld, put it into its corresponding socket, and we'll be all set there. Going to speed up the footage here for you so we don't bore you to death. And there we have it. A little glue, a little patience, and a whole lot of hope. Let's just say if Droidekas ever need a chiropractor, I got it covered. The holes for the poles through the spine actually make really good clamp spots. No. Yeah, don't touch that.
Don't touch it.
Time to glue the first section of the Droideka's upper body. Precision? Check. Patience? We'll see. Toddler assistant engaged. Now my son is an awesome help when it comes to these builds. He really does keep me going. You can see him here actually helping me out, pushing in dowels with his fingers, but then he's gone. I can get this done on my own. It's just good to have him there for the little bit that I can have him there. Except for when I'm working by myself and the house gets a little too quiet. Then I gotta go and see what he might be disassembling in another room somewhere. But nonetheless, this is really coming along well. I'm just smoothing out some of those edges with that JB Weld where some of the extrusion comes out, just so I don't have to sand so much later on. But this is coming together extremely well. Time for some precision engineering. First up, lining up these holes with the kind of accuracy that would make a clone trooper sniper jealous. Now going away from that clone trooper sniper, because I don't want to make him mad, you can see here we've got 3 slots for 3 different chips. Now those chips are actually strengthening chips, and here they are, have dowels that actually go through them, through the piece itself, just to hold a little bit more reinforcement on these pieces here. So slotting them into place, demonstrating where they go, pretty self-explanatory. We need this part to be strong. There's going to be a lot of weight hanging from this central part here. This is actually where the 2 arms link together in the middle. So this needs to be really strong. Now let's just hope the Trade Federation approves my assembly techniques. Now, as I've mentioned before, JB Weld is a great filler as well as a glue. You can see here the warpage on the spine is fully taken care of by the JB Weld. Now let's get this bad boy assembled. We're going to drop on the spine here just as a dry fit, then we're going to drop on the first part of our upper body. I really did try to get the footage of me gluing the entire upper body together, but lo and behold, my phone battery died as I was recording me gluing all these pieces together. So here is the fully assembled upper body. I really wanted to showcase just how much detail is actually in this without any smart alecky comments or anything like that. But yeah, you can just see the level of detail and the amount of time it must have taken to get all this detail in there. I still get astonished. I know I say it every single time, but Droid Division, Dave Mogg did a fantastic job designing this droid from scratch, mind you. I mean, he took source material and really worked as hard as he could to get all of it going. So now let's get all of it together and really show you guys what this thing is all about. Now, every build has its challenges, and this build is no exception. The plan was actually quite simple. Assemble the arms, get them in place, and keep things moving. But there was just one major problem standing in my way. I couldn't for the life of me find the recommended hardware to assemble these arms anywhere. So I had to improvise. With a little Regal Rebel creativity and some unexpected solutions, I got the arms locked in place, and from there, things escalated. Because once those were on, it was time to tackle something even bigger. Something that's actually going to shape next week's episode. And to make things even more interesting, this week I was on a very, very tight deadline. My family and I were actually going out of town for the weekend, so I really had limited time to work on this. But trust me, I busted my butt so I can make it worth it for you guys, because I was not going to leave you guys hanging. Oh, and just so you guys know, I am rocking the new Regal Rebel t-shirt. You can find it down in the link in the description below. Please go out, buy yourself a t-shirt. It's the only way that I actually get funded for any of this, because again, I'm not sponsored, I'm not monetized here on YouTube yet, but if you feel so inclined, please go check out my shop. It really goes a long way of these builds and all of our future builds. Now, obviously, I know I'm not the only one who has to get creative when I hit a roadblock in one of these builds. So I really want to hear from you guys out there in the real world. What is a build problem that you've come across that you've had to solve, and how did you solve it? Let me know down in the comments below. And for those of you who don't build things yourself, why don't you build things yourself? Let me know. Is it just that you don't feel that you're the creative type? Do you just enjoy watching other people build things and get enjoyment from that? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from every single one of you. That being said, Rebels, grab your hydro spanners and prepare for light speed, because this is episode 9 of the 3D printed Droideka build. Let's get to it. And just like that, we are going to hop right into some sanding. I know this is the most exciting part of any build there is. Obviously, I'm kidding. As you can see here, I did miss some supports in the pinholes for some of these arm parts. Not a worry, got them dug out, not a problem. These thin parts, though, were the bane of my existence, because they kept catching on the sandpaper and did not sand worth a crap. And that's exactly what I mean. Those thin parts really had a creak to them. It was almost like fingernails to a chalkboard. But got all of them sanded. I just wanted to sand the faces lightly so they would come together nicely, nice and flush. Still had to fill in a couple gaps here and there, but really nothing major. It really helped out a lot. Now here I'm assembling the pistons for the arms that connect from the upper arm to the boomsticks, as Droid Division calls them again. Now here's where I actually ran into an issue. So as you can see here, you know, these pieces line up really well. So good news, right? Unfortunately, with Droid Division, it kind of needs to be different sized parts here. I don't want the same of both parts. And you can see here I'm lining it up, just showing exactly why we don't want it to be that way. It does not line up at all. And yeah, I was pretty frustrated, a little bit defeated at this moment. Don't know why I felt so defeated. It's not like it's a major deal. I'm still getting used to having a 3D printer where if I make a mistake on something or have the wrong parts for something, I can just throw it in the printer and reprint. That's exactly what I did here. It's really not that big of a deal. Again, still just getting used to the whole thing of, you know, here, got a 3D printer, reprinted the parts, and I'm all set. I can get going here, doing another dry fit, just making sure that I've got all the parts correct, and we're good to go. Now, moving right along, once I got all the arms assembled and glued together, had to cut down some rod. Now, as you can see, you know, I'm not the smartest when it came to this at all by any means, but it's a big learning experience. I couldn't actually clamp the rod to my folding table that I use for my workbench, but, you know, nonetheless, got the crate back out and everything was good to go. Now, here's where I had to get really creative. I wasn't able to find the correct hardware or the recommended hardware for this droid. So I got these T-nuts, which I thought they really looked, you know, otherworldly, or you don't see them on an everyday basis. I know that they use hex bolts for the actual Droideka screen used. I wanted to go with something a little different since I couldn't find the recommended hardware. So had to grind these down. I don't have any professional lathe or anything like that. So just had to grind the edges down. That's what I'm doing here to make sure that they fit down in the recesses. Also, just wanted to clean up my threads a little bit on the rod that I cut for mounting each arm. And yeah, it went really well. Just ground the edges, ground the face of it, and then went through it with a wire brush to make sure that everything is clean and good to go. Now here, the video is actually not in slow motion, so I did have to auger out just four little holes for this build so that the T-nut could actually slide in there properly. Now, it's my understanding that you would still have to do this even with the recommended material or hardware, but I had to go really slow on this because if any of you had drilled plastic before, you know that it grabs it and has a tendency to rip it, actually. So this went really well. Now I'm just kind of, I don't know what you want to say, tapering the hole so it can go in there nice and flush. Again, being really careful not to actually grab and tear the plastic out. Might not look like it's doing anything here, but actually I'm getting little shavings out, and it's doing a really good job of tapering that hole. So let's get to assembling this beast. I'm gonna just sit back, relax, let you guys listen to some music while we get these arms actually mounted and assembled on here. almost forgot, ran into an issue trying to get the threaded rod into this side. Had some extrusion of JB Weld that was just getting in the way, not a big deal. Ground it away and really got it in there. Then that threaded rod actually went in there nice and easy after that, and the rest is history. Alright, now here's the unexpected bit. I actually had enough time, I ground hard enough this last week where I was actually able to get the upper neck actually fully assembled, glued together, ready to put in place. So next week, Rebels, believe it or not, the assembly of this droid should be 100% complete. I don't really like making promises this far ahead, but I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get the hood all glued together and put in place, as well as the neck and the head. So here's that piece here. A lot more than I expected to be able to do this week, but I'm really happy with the end result. Alright, Rebels, we did it. After weeks of 3D printing, gluing, sanding, and assembling, the Droideka is finally complete with its assembly. And let's be honest, this thing is absolutely menacing. This thing is an icon of destruction, and now after all the work, we have one standing right behind me. If you've been following the build from the start, you know this thing hasn't exactly been an easy ride. Some parts came together perfectly, other parts, well, let's just say they put up a fight. But that's what makes a build like this so rewarding. You go through the battle, and in the end, you get a war machine that's absolutely worthy of the Trade Federation. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through the final steps of the assembly, what worked, what didn't, and what's next for this beast. Because let's be real, just having a Droideka standing here isn't enough. We need to take it to the next level. But before we get into that, I've got two announcements to make. First, if you want to rep the Regal Rebel community, check out the official merch at the link on the screen and down in the description below. Whether you're a droid enthusiast, a builder, or just love Star Wars, there's always something for you. And of course, every purchase helps keep the channel rolling, so I really appreciate the support. Speaking of which, I would like to give a quick shout out to Dave from Oklahoma for being the first to make a purchase from the merch store. I know you're going to love your Rebellions Are Built on Creativity t-shirt. Alright, Rebels, grab your Hydro Spanners, power up those fusion cutters, and let's break down how this Destroyer Droid finally came together. Before we get too deep into this, I'd like it noted that I got the green light from my wife to take over the dining room table again. Yes, I know I have the most amazing wife on planet Earth, so let's get all these pieces laid out and see what we're working with. After I got everything laid out, I mixed up some JB Weld to start gluing everything together just like normal. Things were going really smoothly at first. I was feeling pretty good until the glue started setting way faster than I ever expected. A little too fast, actually. And that's when I realized I had made a critical and dumb mistake. In my rushing, I grabbed the only pack of JB Weld available at the store while I was there, but I didn't check the label closely enough. Turns out I bought JB Quick Weld, which, as many of you may already know, that hardens in about 5 minutes. So yeah, this was about to get kind of interesting. Now, I was pretty frustrated but determined at this point. With my JB Weld setting up faster than a pod racer at full throttle, I had to switch gears. Enter E6000. Now, in the beginning, I wasn't totally sold on E6000 at first. Some reviews showed weak stress tests at about 18 hours of cure time, which had me a little bit worried about using it on this project. But the more I dug, the more I realize the actual cure time for E6000 is about 24 hours. And once it's fully set, this stuff is solid. For high stress areas like the Droideka's main body, probably not my go-to, but for the hood and head, this is gonna absolutely be perfect and more than enough. Now, once I had all the hood pieces glued together, I ran into my next challenge, getting everything just to stay in place. One seam in particular just did not want to cooperate. Probably should have sanded the edges a little bit more before gluing, or at least the joining faces, but hey, we're here now. As you can see here, the seam was giving me some trouble. The pieces weren't quite meeting up, so I had to get a little creative with my clamping solutions, but even then, the clamps did not want to hold up very well for what I was doing. I was really trying to grab onto that tiny little ridge up on top to clamp the two pieces together. It worked okay, but not as good as I was hoping. But when I say creative for the entire hood, I mean creative. I had to get 6 giant zip ties for the hood. And yeah, you heard that right, I said zip ties. They were the only way to pull the bottom fins up tight against the upper hood section, and because I love a challenge, the headpiece needed its own special solution as well. A single giant zip tie. It's not the most traditional method, but hey, it worked. But despite all the struggles, setbacks, and impromptu engineering, I finally got everything assembled, and let me tell you, seeing these pieces actually mounted on the Droideka, that was absolutely a moment for me. I'm sorry, but I wasn't able to get the actual moment on camera, or at least my face in it. It was, as I've said many times, you already know what I'm going to say. I'm probably beating a dead horse at this point with it. But it got absolutely emotional for me. I am not going to want to see this thing leave my house when it's all said and done. But we've still got a lot of work to do on this. It's not done by any means, but this is just way, way more profound than I could have imagined. So I want to give a great big thank you to Dave Moog at Droid Division. Thank you so much for making this file a reality. And without you, obviously I wouldn't be able to have this in my house right now. So thanks again to Droid Division, Dave Moog, who designed this droid. Absolute round of applause, and I really hope I can make you guys proud with this build. Alright, time to get these Droideka legs prepped for priming. First up, sanding, the not so glamorous but absolutely necessary step to get a smooth finish. After that, a good wipe down with isopropyl alcohol to remove all the dust and oils, nothing fancy, just making sure the primer actually sticks instead of peeling off like a bad sunburn. Now, my original plan was to lay the legs down in my mini paint booth, you know, the one I use for my helmets and other smaller projects that I've ever done. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but spoiler alert, it was not. Turns out laying them flat just wasn't cutting it. I could only cover one side at a time, and then you have like the stickage and transfer and just all sorts of stuff just not going right. It was a nightmare. I definitely needed a better solution. So I got a little creative because I don't have a whole lot of space in my garage, and it's still not quite warm enough outside where I can go out there and do my painting whenever, wherever I need. So again, got a little creative. I found a way to prop up the main body of the Droideka in a way that actually let me suspend each leg one at a time. It's not the most traditional method, but hey, it worked. That is until I got to the second leg. This one needed a little extra support, so I did what any logical builder would do. I stuck a metal pipe in the hole at the bottom of the body. Now, some might say I inserted the pipe into the Droideka's butt, but let's not get caught up in the details, okay? The important part is it held up and I could get to priming. I started with gray duplicolor filler primer, which works absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately I only found one can at the store. However, they did have 2 cans of the red top filler primer. And let me tell you, I am never going back to the gray stuff. That red primer laid down so smooth, I might just be in love. But between coats, I took the opportunity to do some test painting on some printed swatches. I've done plenty of painting before, but nothing on this scale, so I wanted to make sure I got it right before committing. Because let's be real, sanding this whole thing down and starting over is not on my to-do list. Alright Rebels, so I want to go over some of the paint options for you for the main copper color. So this is straight copper color. So this is the Krylon metallic copper. Looks really good. It lays on extremely well. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. These are just some practice swatches that I made, so work out pretty well. So yeah, so that was color number 1. Okay, it's a little bit bright. I don't think the camera quite does it justice with just how bright it actually is, but this is a little bit too light of a copper color. It's close, but not quite where we want to be. So then I did this darker one, which is aged metal paint and primer in 1 metallic rust. Obviously we're going to prime everything still prime this as well, but this is the color that it is. Now this one, I really like the effect that it has. I did sand it just a little bit, so that's what these lines are, but I like the overall effect that this has on everything. But the color itself is just, here, we're on the opposite end of the spectrum here. It's just too dark. So what I ended up doing was this one here. Now, I personally am extremely happy with how this came out here. So what I did is I did the rust color here. I did a layer of that, not a light layer, it was on there. And then what I did is I did a really light layer of the copper. So as you can see here, we're definitely darker than that, but we're definitely lighter than that. So far, I gotta see how it comes out on the full product, but right now I'm thinking that this is kind of the route to go. We get a little bit of that metallic, but also that roughness, because we don't want this to be a perfectly smooth metal necessarily. And if we do want it to be, we can always wet sand it down, wet sand the rust effect down, and be good to there. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Should we stick with this, or should I keep testing some stuff out? I also experimented with some weathering techniques. Weathering is a whole different beast. It's not just about slapping on some scratches and calling it a day. You have to tell a story with it. The wear and tear needs to be consistent across the whole project, otherwise it just looks random. And honestly, weathering is what brings projects like this to life. It makes them feel real, like they've actually existed in the Star Wars universe. So with all 3 legs primed and paint tests looking solid, I'd call this week a success, despite the unconventional setup. And the next step is to go on and start priming the rest of the pieces. How far I'll get in the next week, I have no idea. Life has been absolutely crazy busy. That's why this week went up just a day late. Really working hard to make sure that this content is quality for you guys, and I'm not just pumping it out to pump out another video in the next week. But I really like to keep you guys updated. This isn't necessarily a tutorial. This is something that we can learn together, and I'm trying to crunch a lot of time of work into a very short video. So anyway, this video is already long enough as it is, so let's sit back, relax, listen to some music, and watch me take care of business here. So any of you who have done weathering effects or painting just in the past at all, you do know that when you're doing it on a small scale like this, a little bit is almost too much. So it's really hard to actually test weathering on a little swatch. But I don't know about what you guys think. Obviously, this is over weathered for this size of a piece. This is a great example of how you want your weathering to tell a story. And you can't necessarily make that story before you start weathering. So as you can see here, got some dry brushing of silver, some scratches. This one here is throwing me off a little bit. I would have to like tone that down just a little bit with some dark, but that's not a big deal. These here, really not bad actually. I don't mind those a whole lot. This here is the part that's the example for telling a story, right? So I was just demonstrating how too much weathering, or a little bit of weathering, can go a long way. I weathered a little bit too much of the silver here in the middle rather than just doing the edges. And then I wanted to demonstrate how you can actually work that over weathering to your advantage, at least a little bit. There's a certain point where you can't turn back and too much is just too much, but this is a prime example of, oh, I wish I didn't do that there. Now let's try to make something out of it. So here, I've got a little blast mark. I would maybe do a little bit more silver here than at that point. But for this size of a piece, I really don't think that's half bad. I got some silver around here in the edge, and then it fades to that black char look. This is absolutely something that I would be happy with on the overall build. Even a piece like this, I'm pretty happy with that. I know it doesn't quite come off all that well on camera, but overall, if you ask me, I don't really feel like this is so over the top over weathered. It's definitely weathered too much for this piece, but it's not terrible. Let me know what you guys think, but this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be doing on the build once it's all set. Between sanding, priming, and a few creative workarounds, we've actually made more progress than it looks like on the surface. I even managed to get progress made on a little side project that I'm doing for my young Padawan's birthday coming up, so bonus dad points, I know. So it may not look like the most productive week ever, but it's still a win. Every coat of primer gets us one step closer to finishing this project, and at this point it really is going to go to the Nerd and Outcon in primer, but that's just the way it goes. I wasn't going to be able to fully finish the paint job anyway. So without further ado, Rebels, let's get right into this build. This week, I finally got to spend some time prepping the main body of the Droideka, and honestly, it felt so good to get my hands back on this thing. I started with sanding, nothing too fancy, just working over all the major surfaces to smooth out those glue joints and rough up the rest so the primer can actually grip properly. If you've ever painted a 3D print, you know a good base makes all the difference in the world, especially when it comes to metallic surfaces. Now, I don't really have a stand or a rig to prop the body up for painting, so I had to get a little bit creative, just like I always do. I decided to start by painting the bottom half first, let that dry, and then shift it from there. Not the most elegant method, but hey, it gets the job done when you're in a pinch. Once it was all sanded down, I gave the whole piece a good wipe with isopropyl alcohol to remove any leftover dust and grime. This step is so easy to overlook, but trust me, it does matter. Dust under primer is not a good time. While the primer dried on that first pass, I moved on to some of the smaller parts. And yep, still sticking with my favorite Duplicolor red filler primer, this stuff lays down so smooth, fills in little print lines, and just makes everything look way better. I always hit things with a light first coat, just enough to basically prime for the primer, quote unquote, if that makes sense to you. But it really does help the primer stick overall. And this is not sponsored by Duplicolor at all, but Duplicolor, if you want to sponsor me, please reach out. I would absolutely love to partner up for future projects. The shield generators gave me a bit of a challenge. They've got these little holes all over them, and each one has to be coated evenly. I actually missed a lot of the insides of those holes the first go around. It's the kind of detail that takes a little extra care, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Also, quick reminder, we're getting super close to the Hot Toys Droideka giveaway that kicks off as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers. And as of this recording, we're sitting at 860 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. And if you know another Star Wars fan or builder who might enjoy this, spread the word. Details are down in the description below as to how to enter. And just because I have to say it, YouTube is not sponsoring this giveaway whatsoever. With a bit of time to spare and a little bit of primer in this can left, I actually decided to knock out a little bit of a side project that's been sitting on my workbench for way too long. It's actually a 3D print that I had printed for my young Padawan, and I figured why not go ahead and just get that primed too while I'm at it. Hoping to have it fully painted in time for his birthday, so stay tuned for that little side quest. Once that was drying, I actually circled back to our main event and gave the main body another light coat just to cover a few missed spots and smooth things out. I also made a bit of a rookie mistake. I laid a few freshly primed parts down without even thinking about it, so some of my finish got smudged and I had transfer from stuff that was already inside the paint booth. Yeah, it's just part of the process. It's not ideal, but it's nothing I can't clean up later. Then I moved on to some new pieces, the spine and upper neck. Not a whole lot of prep work to do with these, but I did take out my trusty I don't know if you want to call it a switch utility knife, but put it to the scraper function, and it does work really well for getting the built-up mounds of JB Weld from the extrusion in between, and just chipping those off real quick before I actually go in and sand. It saves a lot of time with that. But obviously, these two parts, these are really going to bring the whole build together, and I mean, it has to, right? This is the bridge between the main body and the upper body. So let's get these done. And finally, I was able to flip the main body over and get to that intricate front section. There's a lot of detail in there, but it took the primer really well. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies that you got to make sure that are filled and painted properly. And yeah, I should have listened to a lot of you guys out there and painted these parts as I went along. But this is all about learning. And I was just kind of in a time crunch to actually get this built for this Comic-Con that I'm going at. Otherwise, I would have attacked it a little differently. But, c'est la vie. Now the main body is fully primed and ready for touch-ups next week when we go through and make sure that everything is the way it should be before we actually start painting this beast. So yeah, progress is a little slower this week. Life's been really busy, but we're still moving forward piece by piece, and this build is starting to feel even more real now, just like it has every single week. I moved on to the upper body portion, and let me tell you, this part took a ton of primer. I forgot just how many little nooks and crannies and tight angles are built into this thing. Every time I thought I had it covered, I'd tilt it just slightly and find another hidden spot staring back at me. That's when things took a little bit of a turn. I went to open up a new can of primer, and I'll be honest, I completely forgot that it's recommended to use a flat tool to pop off the lid. So I figured I could just do it by hand, and well, let's just say that didn't go too well. When the cap finally gave, it ripped the spray tip clean off the can, and I was instantly greeted by a full force geyser of primer blasting across the garage. For a second, I thought the workshop was about to become the next Star Wars battle scene. Thankfully, I remembered that these cans don't spray upside down, so I flipped it quickly and managed to stop the mess from turning into a full disaster. Could have been way worse, but still a lesson learned. Once I recovered and opened the next can properly, I picked things back up with the spine and upper neck portions that we started in last week's episode. Those pieces came together really nicely, and getting them fully primed felt like a small victory after that little bit of chaos. From there, I circled back to the upper body to finish what I started. I did my best to get coverage in every corner and every angle, making sure this part's ready for paint when the time comes. It's such a complex structure, but that's part of what makes it so satisfying when it finally starts to come together. Next up was the hood section of the Droideka, and honestly, this was a very welcome change of pace. It's obviously a big piece, but compared to the upper body section, it's a lot more straightforward. Not as many crevices to worry about or anything like that. I broke it into sections as I went to make sure I was getting even, clean coats all around. It went surprisingly smooth. And finally, I tackled the arms. I had to disassemble them to make them easier to handle during the priming. It's just too tricky to get good coverage with them fully assembled. And that's where I had to actually stop for now. I ran out of primer, unfortunately. And yeah, I'm pretty sure if I hadn't blown through one of my cans during my earlier mishap, I would have had enough to get the rest finished. But just goes to show, even in the workshop, the Force can be unpredictable. Now, a lot of pieces fit in this tote here. Getting ready to go to Nerdin' Out Con this weekend. Got the 3 legs there, upper neck, upper body, and lower body. Everything else actually fits down in here when it's all broken apart. So let's get this out to the car and head out from there. And meanwhile, the hood is sitting over here crying because I forgot about it earlier. So got that too. That's one of the other pieces that didn't fit in the tote, but No, I'm happy with this. It's going to transport really well, I think. So just when I get what I thought was everything loaded up, I leave the hood out. I knew I was forgetting something. Let's get this in there. All right, everybody. The Enclave is all packed up, ready to go. The next time you see us, we are gonna be well on our way to Rochester, Minnesota, so stay tuned. All right, guys, we are here. Got the tablecloth, table. Everything is here. Let's get it all set up and ready to go. Not going to be too elaborate, but let's get this done.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Bright-eyed and bushy today.
As always. Guys, this is absolutely incredible. So we got the booth all set up. We are in between Time Machine DeLorean and the Ecto one from Ghostbusters. Oh, and how can I forget? So this might look like an average, ordinary, everyday Honda Odyssey, but you can actually take pictures with Wolverine. Hey, buddy. Hanging in there? What's up, everybody? So finally had a little bit of a lull here. Had a chance to actually step out and get some food. Yeah, some music going on in the background, so I won't make this too long, but this is great, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who's come out. I cannot thank you enough. The exception of this droid, people seeing it in person, absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. All right, Rebels, we just got out of day one. I did not record. My car is making weird noises. Anyway, I did not record as much as I wanted to today. There was a lot of music going around in the background, and I know YouTube wise, that's probably a no-no. No, absolutely insane day as far as what I was actually expecting. There was a point where I actually had a line, a lot of you backed up and wanted to take pictures, ask a lot of questions about just 3D printing or the Droideka or whatever, just in general, lots of things. And I am so incredibly appreciative to each and every one of you who came out and saw me. I can't explain how awesome it felt to have you guys appreciate the Droideka even in its unfinished state right now. It's really beyond words for me. So I apologize about me not being able to formulate a sentence with it, but just know that I appreciate each and every single one of you guys who came out to see just Nerd and Outcon in general. Brad is an absolutely phenomenal human being. I will do my best to get a time lapse of tomorrow a little bit, hopefully. We'll see. Stay tuned. And yeah, get more subscribers tomorrow as well. So thanks a lot, guys. I love each and every one of you. All right, everybody, we are here for day 2 of Nerd and Outcon here at the Graham Arena in Rochester, Minnesota. Let's get in, let's get to it, let's show you around. All right, everybody, Droideka is loaded up for the most part. I've just got a little bit of stuff left. Let's get this loaded up. I'm gonna hit the road. Okay, should we go to bed? You wanna go to bed? So I just got my mail here. I've got this Rebel Chrome spray. Now I actually saw online here, this stuff is probably the best chrome spray paint in a can. I mean, I just, we'll see how this works. I haven't even tried it yet. I haven't even popped the top. So you guys are actually the first ones to see the top here. Let's give her a shake and apply a little bit and see how it looks. Guys, the video doesn't do it justice, but you can kind of get a little bit, and this is without priming or anything. Guys, this is incredible. Again, no primer, no, I didn't even wipe this down with alcohol. I just wanted to see what it would do. I followed the instructions on it, so I shook it for a minute, about 20 to 30 centimeters. So some of you may call me a dumb American, but I just kind of figured how far it was off. And then 2 to 3 times, this is 3 coats. And wet coats at that. I didn't let it dry in between coats. This is blowing my mind. I can even read the Wagner logo. Good Lord. You've got these parts all primed up. I've got that shoulder shield primed up as well. Just propped up on one of the arm pieces that's going to be attached to. No, I went really well. So if you guys knows it, if you guys notice, I've actually got this turntable now. This is actually 3D printed. It really does a great job. It's better than anything I've had before this, because really up until this point I've had nothing. So this is actually Prop Shop's design. If you haven't checked out her channel, highly recommend going and checking it out, giving her some support. She's absolutely talented when it comes to really anything prop building, designing especially. Yeah, I cannot give enough praise. This is not sponsored by her or anything like that, but seriously amazing channel, amazing work that she does. Go out, give her some love, and yeah, and thank you so much for being here for this. Let's keep going. Alright, so now I've got this chrome piece here. I'm going to do some tests here. So I'm going to actually wet sand this and see how much of a chrome finish I can get after I smooth it all out here once. Obviously I should have done more smoothing before I laid this down to get that nice chrome, but it's still impressive just how much chrome look it has already. Like anything close to it, it's almost mirror. But obviously at a distance, you can see all the little imperfections there. So I'm gonna wet sand this, see what it does, and then apply maybe like another coat or two of the chrome and just see what it does. So here's what wet sanding with 400 grit sandpaper did. I did it really light, but I wish you guys could actually feel this through the camera, but it is ridiculously smooth. I know you can see areas here, but believe me, even those are smooth here too. That, remember the red primer, and then all the gray parts are actually the chrome after it got sanded. So yeah, let's see what some coats on this does. So keep in mind it has not cured yet. Obviously, you can still see some ripples from a distance, That's my RC collection there that you can see in there. Otherwise, that is like a mirror for my hand. This stuff is just blowing me away. It's insane. Now, Rebels, I know it can feel like we didn't get a lot done this week, but just for perspective, this is my paint booth here. These are all the parts that we got primed over the week. This is considering that we had Easter weekend and yeah, obviously everything that comes with a holiday, and the weather was absolutely phenomenal. So we did get my garage at least cleared out for the most part. It's a little bit in shambles again because we've been using it, but it's very usable space now again. And I've got more tools organized. So really, this is all we have left to get primed, minus the Vikings helmet. But yeah, so we've got these two arm pieces here, one more boomstick, and the head to get primed. And then these as well, which they actually go at the bottom of the canisters. But that's really all we have left to get primed, and then we're officially on to paint. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to get this much done, but the last couple weekends have been absolutely busy. The weekends are mainly the only time that I have to actually work on this. And then I'm also doing all the work on this. I'm editing and whole 9 yards. So I really appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. I don't want to let you down at all. And I don't feel like I really am, but I just want to make sure that you guys know I am working as hard as I possibly can on this because I believe in this. I love this. When it comes to the videos, I absolutely love making these videos for you guys. When it comes to the projects, I have a big time passion for doing these projects here. That is primed, by the way. It's just primed in a different color. Officially ran out of primer for right now. I'm hoping to get some by the time next week's video rolls around. So in the meantime, I've got this metallic, well, bright metallic finish. It's supposed to be like a copper. So here's the cap. It looks like it's gonna be darker than this though. Let's give it a shot once though. I haven't actually sprayed any yet, but just by the promo, it looks like it's gonna be darker. So let's give it a shot here. If I can get, there we go. Get the ball to break loose. I gotta say, I love these spray tips so much more than like say the Rust-Oleum kind. It's just so much more control out of this. It seems so weird, but trust me, it's so much better. Shockingly similar to this. That's before drying. There's no primer on this or anything yet. I know if I want to do a true test, I need to do primer and everything, but that's probably the best copper color I've been able to find for this project straight out of the can. Yeah, I like that a lot. I use Bondo glazing and spot putty just to fill in some of the seam lines before we lay the primer on this. I wanted to do kind of a mixture of both because as much as I want this to turn out nice, I also am learning a little bit. So I did primer first on this and now I'm filling in the seam. And here I've filled the seam and we're gonna do primer after it's all sanded and smooth. Here are our pistons. So you guys already saw me sand the plastic itself and then seal it with primer. I also went over these middle parts of the pistons with the Bondo spot putty because I want this these sections here to be as smooth as humanly possible to get it ready for this chrome. Yeah, so I think I'm pretty set on using this chrome for the middle section of this. I'm not too worried about the edges here because I will be doing some weathering in there, some oil staining, whatever you want to call it. These droids have been through a lot, so definitely not going to be perfectly liquid tight by any means. I want it to be something that maybe it needs a little to go in for a little bit of maintenance or something like that. So yeah, I'm not too worried about the edges here, but the main section here, I'm really wanting to make it as smooth as I possibly can. So we're gonna dry sand, good Lord. We're gonna wet sand this with 400 grit sandpaper to make it smooth. That's actually what I did on this chrome piece here. I wet sanded this with 400 grit sandpaper and did a layer. I definitely could have done more prep work to this, but even so, this is after I've wiped it with some dry paper towel. I'm just kind of testing the durability of it. Now, keep in mind, this stuff is not the most durable stuff in the entire world. It's more durable than some shiny paints out there. But like here, that fingerprint there, I'm pretty sure that was done today. I can't say for 100%, but this has been sitting out in the garage. It's definitely cured by now. It's been a few days since I applied it. So yeah, it's not the most durable stuff in the world, but this is basically just going to be sitting in the corner of a store. It's going to be a showpiece. Last week, I did realize I did not showcase what the chrome paint actually was. I do apologize about that. I showcased it in the week before last week. And last week, it just escaped my mind. I don't know what happened there, but this is the Rebel Chrome Spray. I don't know why they took the E off the chrome. Maybe one of you guys out there knows. Let me know down in the comments. But this stuff, yes, it's a little bit on the spendy side, but I mean, gosh, this is just a single stage chrome, guys. Like I cannot complain at all about the price. I've done 3 tests with this now. Yeah, technically 3 tests. I've still got a lot of this can left. It doesn't take a whole lot to make this chrome the way it is. You can see this is after I would say about a week of just sitting here, because I haven't really touched it a whole lot since. I've just kind of wanted it to sit there and cure, because I can't stop looking at it. I know I'm obsessed. Let's let this Bondo cure and dry, and then let's wet sand it with our 400 grit sandpaper. Alright guys, so we're here at Target. So we've got this, it's Cuddly's brand. It's almost like a Squishmallow, but branded by like Disney and stuff. So we've got a Chewie, so a Chewbacca for Hayden before he was even born, and he loves it. Like, that is his main toy. So as you guys figured out, we are actually expecting our second child. So, and it's a boy. But we need to figure out what we're gonna do for Cuddlies for him. And we don't see any Star Wars ones here right now. So we're really thinking about that. I know on Disney.com or whatever website it is, they do have the Wicket, so the Ewok version. That's like the only one other than Grogu. And we kind of want to stick with more like animal type. But they do have this Marvel one here. They've got a Groot, which is actually pretty sweet. So let me know what you guys think. If any of you guys have any leads or anything on a better one or any animal from Star Wars, let me know. I would love to hear it down in the comments. Thank you. All right, everybody. Got a haul from Napa here, because Napa is really the only local place I can find duplicolor paint. I'm going to give this a shot. So this is the base coat for the metal cast. Definitely didn't need to go with the duplicolor base coat, but I just want to cover my bases from my first time working with it. So if you guys don't know what metal cast is, Frankly Built on YouTube. He's probably my biggest inspiration when it comes to 3D printing and just really making sure that my 3D prints are up to my standards. He works with metal cast in his most recent video. If you want a detailed analysis as to how this works, what it is, definitely go check out his latest video. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Frank is like one of my favorite YouTubers ever. So real quick here, and then I've got one more can of filler primer. Got more of it on the way in the mail, but so we can keep on going with that. And finally, this is the last thing I got. So I got this Bondo original filler. This is going to help me fill in the legs and everything a lot more than just spot putty, okay? Because spot putty isn't necessarily gonna be for the big seams. It's really meant for filling in the layer lines and whatever else. So this is the first one I did and then sanded down. I think I'm gonna be okay. I definitely should have filled these gaps before I did the filler primer. Again, this is a lot of learning as I'm going along. It's going really smooth, getting everything filled in, gonna recoat with primer after I sand it, and then we should be good. Now, keep in mind, this is not, the entire project, I'm not looking for super duper smooth. These droids, thank God anyway, these droids were roughly built. These were not precision milled machine or parts or anything like that. So I'm not gonna say the rougher the better, but I'm not gonna be going for a completely smooth surface at all by any means. So a little bit of roughness here and there is fine. I need to do a lot of work and fill this in. That's where this stuff here is actually going to come in, because that's going to fill nicer, so I can actually fill the entire thing and then sand it down from there. But the spot putty works great for cracks, so you can see it a little bit right there. And then, yeah, it shows up actually better on camera than it does, but it's just because it's all drying and everything. So you can see the line there. It filled that in nicely. The spot putty does a really good job of filling in those seam lines. And when it's all sanded down, it's gonna look a lot better too. This actually is gonna serve really well for battle damage. It's got a little bit of a dent to it and everything. I just filled it in a little bit, but I'm gonna keep that there because I really like that look of it. And then yeah, filled this in yesterday. So if you look at that, this paint is, well, it metal cast anyway, but it's absolutely phenomenal as far as the shine it gives. Now this is on top of that Rebel chrome, so I went ahead and coated it with this. Now if you look in there, there's a little bit of streakiness, so like darkness. That's actually areas where I tested with a paper towel just to test the durability of the chrome. I wiped it across there dry, And on the chrome, you really couldn't see it a whole lot, but it really popped after I coated it with the metal cast, which is interesting to me, but makes sense for what this paint is. As you can see here on the edges, it definitely got darker because it pooled up a little bit. Again, my first test run with the metal cast, definitely something you want to be patient with. I also put it on top of the copper just to see what that would do. And it got a little bit fuzzy in there and everything, but definitely not perfect stuff, don't get me wrong. But it's all just testing, figuring out how it works. Well, look what we have here. Oh, that is such a beautiful sight. Let's get this going. I'm a little bit at a loss for words right now. So took a little break from priming here. Checked my status of the channel and we just hit 1,000 subscribers. Oh man, it's really hitting hard right now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely loving bringing this to you guys, and oh man, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit speechless at the moment, I can't help it. Alright everyone, so we got the Bondo mixed up. I started with applying just the top layer onto this because after primer and everything, it was really showing the bumps and minor imperfections in the print really heavily. So just wanted to cover that, and then I went ahead and filled in some imperfections on the main body as well. So these circles here are going to be hidden. I know I said I don't want this to be like perfectly smooth or anything, but I obviously don't want a big circle seam in the middle of everything. And then this, I just had some left over, so I decided to fix some of that spot. So yeah, no, it went really smooth. I'm gonna let this cure and I'm gonna sand it down and get it ready for actual paint. All right, everybody, so it's such a gorgeous night out. I don't feel right sitting inside my garage sanding for hours on end, so let's do it outside tonight. My son's inside, little Padawan is trying to fall asleep anyway. This whole switching him to a big boy bed, not going very smooth, but it's going. So let's get this stuff sanded. So I just thought this was interesting. So this is my Bondo covered. Obviously I didn't go through and like fine sand this. I just stuck with my 60 grit, and then I did go up to 120. But this is actually perfect for what I'm trying to go for weathering. So here we're gonna have some chips, some scratches, some dings, whatever, what have you. It's really gonna add to the effect of this. I really like how this came out, actually. This is not final cover. This is just paint. We'll see how it goes when we actually coat it in the copper, but I really like this ding look that it's got now. Guys, this is super exciting. So the first copper color has gone down on the shoulder shield. As you can see, the Bondo left, like, I did not go any lower than, or any higher I should say, than I think it was 120 grit sandpaper. So you can definitely see some of the scratches. I am going to leave that exactly the way it is, because this is exactly the look that I wanted to go for, actually. Keep in mind, this was unintentional with the Bondo. I just wanted to see what it would do. But this is exactly the look I was going for. Some dings, definitely not perfect. I'm gonna be able to weather this up really nicely. It's gonna come out so beautiful, you have no idea. Looks beautiful in the sun. Oh man, I'm so happy with this. All right, Rebels, so we've got our hood right here. Going to mix up some Bondo, going to fill in the seam lines here. It's gonna be really seamless. So yeah, it's gonna be seamless. Not even gonna know it was printed in all these different parts. And yeah, no, I'm just still really impressed with how it came out on the shoulder shield. So let's get this all done. And yeah, I'm not going to be able to like actually record myself mixing and everything, which is just fine, but going to go into a time lapse of me coating this thing with the Bondo and the seams at least. All right. So I forgot how fast this stuff starts setting up, so I wasn't able to actually set up my camera to take a time lapse of me applying this stuff, but you kind of get the gist. So filled in seam lines here, line here, up there going down, here going down, and then each fin. So yeah, gonna let this dry for a little while and then it'll be sandable. So got a few more spots here and so on and so forth. And definitely in here, I gotta find a good way of getting into small areas to apply it, but otherwise it should be set to go. All right, zapping forward, Rebels. So we have our hood here, no more seams, obviously some little like divots and stuff here. I'm gonna leave that because again, I like that for a weathering effect. So it gives something else to kind of catch the eye and hide my little crimes, AKA this. So it's gonna look like weathering. I need to find a way to get in there decently with some filler as well, but that's also not very high on my to-do list at the moment. But otherwise, the seams are all filled in and look pretty dang good. I'm very happy with how this came out. I need to go over it with a little bit more primer again, but in some certain spots, so like there and so on and so forth. But really happy with how it came out. It's gonna look great, guys. Once paint is on, it's gonna look even better. I'm happy with this right now. Well, I have got very dirty hands. I've got wood filler here, so I'm trying a lot of different ways to fill in seam lines. So here I've got wood filler there, wood filler there, a lot of wood filler on the floor and chairs, there, and a bit over there. So as you can see, I'm kind of all over the place right now. It is Mother's Day. It sounds like my son actually just got up from a nap, so I'm gonna go back to being dad and everything, so mom doesn't have to do a lot today. We are back in the nerd cave. Daddy Rebel here. You know what? Scratch that. Don't call me Daddy Rebel. I don't like that. Anyway, guys, got the Droideka somewhat put together, disassembled. I'm going to, I have to prime some of this ball portion of the body yet. But in all reality, I mean, don't pay too close attention to this right now. But all in all, man, the smoothing work on this definitely paid off. I really like seeing some fruits of my labor. This is more of just color difference than anything, kind of like here, just an area where I didn't coat yet. But I am extremely happy with that. You guys, something incredible just happened. So these are primed, these are primed, those are primed and painted, that's primed, and these are primed. Do you guys know what that means? We are basically done with priming. Oh man, I feel like I'm kind of in a dream right now, honestly. You guys might be wondering why I partially assembled this for priming what I did today. So when I'm going through in my paint booth and everything else I'm priming, I noticed, especially at the Comic-Con when it was all assembled, there was parts where I didn't notice that I missed primer until I put it together. So that's pretty much why I did that, because I wanted to put it together, touch up the priming spots that I missed, and really make sure that I didn't miss them for the actual base coat as well. So we are all primed. I'm going to take some of these small parts that are going to be gunmetal gray, and where did I put it? Here it is. I've got this metallic dark metal. I want to give this a shot and see how it looks, see if it's too dark, see if it's too light. We're going to do that in some of these pieces here. So nice smaller pieces where if I don't like it, it's not going to make much of a difference. I can sand it down, or I mean, if it makes more sense, reprint it. I don't think that's actually going to happen. But yeah, not as big of a deal if this doesn't turn out exactly right, rather than like say even these where it's a little bit more of an intricate part. I don't want to have to sand that all down. So yeah, let's get to it. Test piece number 1, metallic dark metal. Let's see how this goes. And here is the result of that dark metal color. The camera does not do it justice, but this looks amazing. I do really like the look of this. Now, one thing I am noticing, like when the light is straight on, here too, the camera doesn't pick it up super well, but I did forget to sand the primer a bit. Like not sand it away, obviously, but sand it down so the print lines are hidden. But it still does a really good job of hiding those print lines anyway. So, oh guys, we are golden for this project. Painting has officially started. All right, we're gonna run a test. So I lightly wet sanded this with 400 grit sandpaper. It's really nice and smooth to the touch. Wiped it down so there's no debris or anything on it. Let's see if that actually changes the look of things. I've already wet sanded the most important parts that are gonna catch people's eye, but let's see how this does. Rebels, first time ever working with Rub and Buff, and I gotta say, I am thoroughly impressed. I knew I would be, but this is even exceeding my expectations. Just how easy it is to work with and apply and just make it look like actual metal. I mean, I don't know how well this is showcasing. This, I hope it's showing up on camera decent, but this is looking absolutely phenomenal. You'd be hard pressed. Obviously, you guys all know that I'm not holding a piece of metal, but if you didn't know and we're just looking at this from this angle, you'd be hard pressed to think that that wasn't metal. But I'm going to get this all taken care of, so got to paint the other side of this still. This was just a test. Painted the other side of another piece. All right. So sorry, the wind is probably coming in like crazy, but got the first leg coated. Obviously, I left some imperfections. That's part of my weathering. Don't worry about it. Nothing to stress about. Now, it's not gonna be perfect, guys, all right? So, again, we see some print imperfections here. It's just stuff I didn't account for with the sanding and everything, but I'm done with that. I'm on to paint. I'll just make it work with the weathering. I just kind of take what comes to me. So yeah, no, otherwise, guys, I'm really happy with how this is coming out here. So yeah, stay tuned. Oh yeah, and then this. So this is almost like a tabletop or table vise, basically. This particular one is a Black & Decker Workmate. So this is perfect setup for what I need it for. So it holds onto this really well. It's not good. This is wood here, so it's not going to mar up my plastic or anything. And yeah, no, it's doing a fantastic job. It's exactly what I need for this type of job. Ran out of paint right in the middle of that leg. Should have known. I just got one can at that time just to see if I liked it or not. Well, I like it. Alright, so as you may have noticed in the video, post painting, so I didn't really do a lot of filling work here. You can really see a lot of the layer lines here on the dome. I wasn't happy with that when it was all painted. I don't know what I was thinking really, but I thought the dark would hide it a little bit better. Obviously I was wrong. That's really not a worry. This is going to be a back leg at this point. I really don't want to go back and sand it down, and I got a little bit of a time crunch now for this project. So I went through with spot putty and layered it and then lightly sanded it down. I've got some specks here. That's not anything to worry about, but layer lines are basically all gone. There's a couple of them still showing, but those are just going to be scuffs essentially. This one nice and smooth as well. I got these already done. Sorry, son. Got these already done and re-primed. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty great. Okay, Rebels, so interesting turn of events here. I was pretty much done with the third leg on painting. You can kind of see it here on this ball here, but I had these weird little round specks. So I went ahead on this dome here. I had these specks all over this one. It was really bad. So I took 1000 grit sandpaper, wet sanded this, and it honestly, I don't know if the video does it justice or not, but in person, this looks incredible, really, as far as like the weathering and everything. And I thought, okay, well, that was unexpected. Let's go ahead and do this part of the leg as well. Now you can kind of tell the difference. This is still shiny, you know, you can obviously see the ripples of the print. you could on this too, but wet sanding with 1000 grit sandpaper, it made it really nice and smooth to the touch, obviously, but it created this just incredible metal look. I know it's not coming out in the camera nearly as well as it is in person, but you can see like my imperfections on my filling, which I wanted to leave for weathering. That came out better than I could have ever hoped for, really. Same thing up here in this seam area. It's making everything look super cohesive. Now I do have areas where the primer started showing through. That's not a worry. This is actually going to be kind of my marker for silver dry brush, just to make it look more scuffed. And I got some other areas where I do need to coat a little bit more and then wet sand, but good Lord. My wife knows all too well that I am actually a little bit PO'd at how good this came out, because I just made a lot more work for myself. So I'm gonna go through, wet sand all these legs, all these pieces, and yeah, because I like this look too much and it makes me mad. So yeah, let's get to it. Here, don't worry about this. This is going to be sanded down, either painted silver, or I'm going to try to sand it down to its original metal here, because these are actual metal pipes right here. But weathering is coming out amazing so far. So went through, as you all know, I wet sanded with 1000 grit sandpaper after I painted with the metallic dark metal. And then these parts, and almost all the weathering that you see like here and everything is all rub and buff. So even this shiny bit here, I went heavier with the rub and buff here, and I'm okay with the tarnished look and everything here too, but rub and buff, and all these edges, rub and buff, and then a mixture of Tester's silver as well. So just some of the crazier parts, or not crazier, but parts that come up a little bit, that's actually Tester's paint there, hand painted. But no, otherwise all rub and buff. I still got to do this side and the other side of each one, so that's why you see it like that there. But let's get this going. First off, a great big thank you for all the support from each and every one of you. It means the world to me, and keep it coming, because this is not the one and only giveaway by any means. I'm gonna have more giveaways coming up in the future, near future, by the way. Some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. You're not gonna wanna miss it, so stay tuned for that as well. What you guys have all been waiting for, the winner of the Hot Toys Droideka is Galactic Prop Works. I really want to thank you so much for all the support. and you're definitely deserving of it. Let's see how that home built hilt challenge comes out. See who wins that as well. But for those of you who didn't win, don't feel bad at all. I've got more giveaways coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss them. And also, as always, we've got this behemoth behind me that we are working on. Guys, the legs are basically done. I do have to sand the poles yet. I did do it on the third leg, so that's what it's going to be like. Now, if you guys notice, I went heavy on the weathering down here on the feet and then got lighter pretty much as I went up. Obviously, being down on the ground like that, that's where majority of the wear and tear is gonna be, and it gets less as it goes up. But guys, I am really, really happy with this thing. It's coming along really well. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. All right. I've got all kinds of parts in the paint booth getting ready for paint. These parts down here, this right here, a little bit of a teaser for next week. All right, so Black & Decker Workmate still coming in handy. We've got these poles stuck in, and we've got the lower body all propped up upside down, ready for our first coat of copper. All right, here is the upper body all painted up, not weathered or anything yet by any means. Man, I forgot how much of a pain in the butt this thing is to paint. But I got it. All the red that you see is just reflections from other things in the garage. I believe I got just about every nook and cranny. This one right here, I'm not worried about the red that's in there because that's just a slot for the arms. But I believe I got it pretty good. I'm sure I'll find some more spots that I need to touch up during sanding, getting it ready for the weathering process. But right now, I am happy with that. So let's get on to some other stuff. All right, Rebels, so the spine painted up quick. Just like before, the video doesn't quite do it justice, especially when I'm doing it like this. But I think the spine came out pretty good. Looks better in person because of all the reflectiveness of everything I did on this, whether it be the base coat of the metallic dark metal, sanded with 1000 grit, that gives it a nice worn texture already. But then the rub and buff silver leaf, so there we go. Yeah, rub and buff silver leaf, doing everything else like the raised edges and everything like that, and then just kind of adding a little bit more here. So I'm more happy with the back than I am with the front, in all honesty. So I may just go over it lightly again with some rub and buff, nothing too crazy. Like, I don't really care for some of these scuffs here, so I might darken that up just with some metallic dark metal paint. Just mist it on top because I don't necessarily want it to go away. I just don't want it as prevalent as it is right now. So toning that back with just a light mist. I actually did that on the legs a couple times in a few spots, so it's proven to at least look decent or at least be passable by my standards. But I really kind of want like these areas here to just be slightly more worn looking, but all in a linear fashion. So going probably side to side with it, actually probably up and down. That's what I did back here. I did more of an up and down, and I think I'm more happy with that on it. So yeah, let's get that done. And these spouncers are like the best thing that I can find to apply it, but they don't last long either. So the centers have a tendency to wear out, and then you're hitting it with a stick like crazy. So yeah, luckily they're cheap. All right. Now, real quick, I didn't do this part on camera, unfortunately, but I went ahead and I coated, like I just masked lightly this area here, and then I actually masked wherever you can see black here, laid a coat of copper, and then I was so happy with it that I just, off camera, I kept on going and I masked off the copper, and I went ahead and laid down my black, and then weathered it all up with the rub and buff. So this is rub and buff here, and then all these streaks that you see here are also rub and buff. I'm really happy with this. It's really cool to see it on the main body section, and that will come up here soon. It's just I have it masked off for the copper that I'm laying down. I ran out of copper right in the middle of painting it, so or I shouldn't say right in the middle, but after the first coat, I ran out of copper. So I've got some more on the way. That should be here Friday. I've got a really busy week ahead of me. I'm gonna see how much I'm actually able to get done with that. I've got some really cool stuff in the works just as a whole for my family and everything. More on that later. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with how this came out. I did do some rub and buff around all these circles as well, so you can kind of see the silver gleam come through in each circle, which is really nice. And then I think the only thing left to do on this, I want to try a black wash on this just to darken this copper just a little bit. It doesn't have to darken necessarily, but just rough it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more tarnished. And yeah, so we'll see what happens that way. I probably should have done a black wash before I did rub and buff, but we'll see how that all comes out at least. In the video as well, you guys saw me do this, so we're good there. Otherwise, Rebels, this one's going to be really simple. I know you guys like more action, not as much talk. At least that's what analytics show me anyway. So I try to, especially this week, I tried to get as much done as I could to really leap forward in progress, if that makes sense. So also, one last thing quick, I do have a Walmart affiliate link as well. So I've been making a whole shop of Walmart supplies that you can actually go out and buy yourself. Link down in the description below. It does not cost any extra purchase from my affiliate link. It just gives me a little bit of commission for what gets sold from that. So if you guys are looking for supplies or anything in particular, I've got a whole list of things I use specifically on this Droideka. So by all means, go down, check it out, check out that playlist. If there's something in there that you don't have that you do need to either resupply on or give it a shot, please go ahead and use my affiliate link. That helps out a lot. It helps the channel. It helps my family quite a bit. So no, thank you very much. And on that note, Rebels, again, got some really awesome stuff coming down the pipeline. Thank you so much for being here with me. But in the meantime, keep dreaming, keep building. And until next time, Rebels, always remember, rebellions are built on creativity. Alright, so first off, I just have to give a great big thank you to one of my viewers. Dropped off a bunch of paint for me, knew I was running low, and went ahead and ordered me some. So definitely didn't have to, but thank you so much to Derek. Great big help with all of this. It helps me and honestly the family out a ton. So yeah, it's viewers like you is the reason why this series is still able to go on. All right, Rebels, so I know I expressed that I was upset that I did this whole thing off camera as far as the black, the copper, all that kind of stuff, but good thing there's two of them. So we're gonna mask off these edges wherever there would be black here. I'm gonna mask it off, not worried about masking off the entire thing wherever there's gonna be black, because copper, if I got some overspray of some copper or anything, the black is going to cover it up just fine, so I'm not worried about that. In fact, that actually happened in many places here, and even if I look really close, I can't tell where the overspray was and where it wasn't. So we're just going to mask off the outside, just do a light mask on top of this. There's going to be a little bit of overspray, but let's get to it. All right, so got the copper all masked off. All of this is gonna be the dark metallic metal. I would just like to point out that after you get the black on here, it somehow makes the copper look darker, even though it's really not. It just gives that illusion. Hi everybody, Joel from the future editing this video. Sorry that this video is going to be a week late. Things obviously progressed really rapidly with our second child. So as you're seeing this now, I am now a father of 2 kids and I can't be more excited. I definitely could use some more sleep though. So anyway, quick reminder, thank you so much for sticking around in this video. If you would be so kind, please check out my merch store on Printful, link down in the description below. Some great stuff there. Pick up something that you're gonna love forever. It's really awesome quality, it really is. Secondly, if you guys are wondering what I use to finish this Droideka, by all means, go to my Walmart affiliate link. I've made a perfect store for you guys to pick up just about everything I used. Obviously not as fleshed out as Amazon would be, but Walmart is the best affiliate link that I have so far. So working on getting more affiliate links for places like Amazon. But if you've got anything in particular that you're wanting from what I use here, definitely check out that store, pick up something from there. It does not cost you any extra. I just get a little bit of kickback from when you purchase it there. Anyway, back to the video. Thanks a lot. And here it is with what I think anyway is going to be the final coat of copper on this section anyway. I can still kind of see the circle there. Not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to actually get that sanded out or not. We'll let this cure up and give it probably just one more once over with 1000 grit sandpaper. All right, everybody, I cannot express how happy I am with the outcome of this. On the camera here, it almost looks a little bit more gold. I like the color of it on camera a little bit more than I do in real life, but I'm still extremely happy with this. Sanded it down with 1000 grit sandpaper after the coat dried and cured, and no, it's the exact finish I was going for. Not that super metallic look or anything, but just a beautiful like dull finish to it, but still looks nice and smooth. All right, I've got the head masked off again, just like everything else that's got copper. I'm not worried about mist overspray or anything, but got to get the edges and the top copper. Don't worry, I'm not going to forget about the silver strip down the middle either. So let's get this done. Another late night last night, as you can see by the garage floor, a lot of black spray paint dust. We are making a lot of progress. The hood is not painted yet, but everything else on there, bar the main body portion, is all painted up. There's another really fun surprise here. So, as you can see, you've got the chrome down the center of the Droideka. So the whole story with that is obviously where it rolls down the center, it wears the copper color away and just leaves exposed shiny metal. I wasn't necessarily planning on using the chrome for this part originally, but when I laid down the regular silver, it just wasn't sitting quite right with me, so I went ahead and actually laid down the chrome on that. I'm really happy with that. Still got to weather it in and make it look a little bit more not forced, but so far extremely happy with that. Now, what I did actually want to use the chrome for is right here. Now, I am so extremely happy with this outcome. I did not do like a whole nice job of sanding or anything around these edges because I'm going to create like oil leaks, just make it so these pistons are very used, probably need to be replaced a little bit here and there, but overall still wanted that shiny piston look. Got some transference here from when I was peeling the tape off. No worries there. It's just going to be part of the weathering. But guys, I am so happy with this. So now it's time to do it on this. Let's get to it. Alright, so upper body up on the legs, or lower body I should say. Got it masked off here, ready for the black on the main body portion. And yeah, I've got to take this stuff and put it around over the masking tape and then drape it over the legs. So, because I really don't want to do this off of the legs anymore. Gonna be painting this down here black, this up here, and obviously back behind. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright Rebels, so got the garage door open. I worked on some weathering last night. You see some of the time lapse. So the one thing that I didn't show on the time lapse is actually weathering this copper color. Just based on what I'm seeing here, it doesn't look like it's showing up too well on camera, at least from this angle. But I really wanted to take it out of the garage and look at it in the sunlight. I'm not going to keep it in the sun for too long because this is just printed in PLA, basic PLA. So it's going to be a little bit susceptible to the sun and the heat, but a little bit is not going to hurt it one bit. So let's get this out in the sunlight and actually see what it looks like in daylight. As you can see here, we're still nice and pristine. Everything below the hood. So like this is all weathered up now as well. So I will be doing the exact same treatment as I did on this, on the head and the hood. So now is the time where I need to actually take the hood and head off again and really get going on the, let me go into detail as to what I'm doing on the copper. So for those of you who have been here since the mid-range of it or even the beginning, you know that I tested out this metallic rust color and it was just a little bit darker than I wanted. So I sprayed this down and I mist it over with the bright metallic copper. And that color was awesome to me. I absolutely loved it. Then I discovered my Krylon specialty copper, which is absolutely fantastic. That's what I used on everything. Now keep in mind guys, this is not a screen accurate build. At some point in the future I will try to be a little bit more screen accurate with the color, but that gets to be like a purplish copper, almost red maroon. It's a really weird mix of colors. Hard to replicate, but not impossible by any means. I've already got some leads on that. So sometime in the future, I'll come back and do a screen accurate color. But for right now, this is just something to make me happy and make the general public happy. So what I've done here is I've gone over it with the copper and I've misted over some of this metallic rust from Rust-Oleum. And honestly, like just really like lightly misting it over and then letting it get a little bit tacky. Taking a paper towel, not damp or anything, just dry, and brushing it across and creating this really cool aged copper look. So it's making an effect that I really didn't expect. It's not a weathering method that I've really seen anybody else use. Not claiming that this is the first time ever it's been used, but I haven't seen it ever been used. This is just something I came up with and thought, hey, let's give it a shot and see how it goes. And I'm extremely happy with the results. So let's get going on this head and hood, and I'll get back to you guys. All right, quick weather done on the inside of the hood. And just blotched the rust in here. Didn't go like crazy with or take a lot of time on the inside. Nobody's really gonna notice it. I just don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb is all. So got some weathering on the outside. Still got to fill this in with black, these indents here, and then make the silver stripe down the middle. So let's get that done here and I will come back for an update. Now, before I reveal the final paint job on this Droideka, I just have a couple quick things. First off, if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and hit that bell for notifications so you never miss an upload from the Regal Rebel channel. Also, check out the merch store on Printful. It helps support builds like this and many more future crazy builds from this garage in the future. And lastly, I would love to thank my loyal subscribers. I know I've been a little bit AWOL lately. When Padawan number 2 came along, it was just way crazy, way hectic. A lot of stuff going on in the background, just with whether it be this channel or other social media projects that I have coming down the pipeline. It's just been a lot going on all at one time, and I thank you so much for being here. Now, as many of you do know, the next project after this Droideka is a 1-to-1 scale super battle droid by droid division. I already have the files, and yeah, let's just say it's going to be a series that you're not going to want to miss, just like this Droideka was. Now let's roll that beautiful reveal footage. Alright everybody, so got the Droideka here at the end of the driveway. A lot of people are slowing down as they're driving by, looking at it. Gotta load it. Hi wife. Gotta load it into the back of the Enclave and get this ready to road trip down to Rochester this weekend. So hope to see a lot of you guys there. Brad, I'm looking forward to seeing you like no other. All right, Rebels, starting to hit. Yeah, no, the Droideka is all loaded up in the Enclave. It got way dark way faster than I expected it to. I don't know what I was expecting, honestly, when it came to that, but just faster than I expected. But no, got all the pieces wrapped in bubble wrap, and just to protect the paint job. Yeah, sorry, I'm just a little bit, yeah, I get emotional sometimes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, just raw me. It's just who I am. I get emotional easily. This sucks, not gonna lie. Brad, you're getting, right now, my pride and joy, best thing I've ever built. And yeah, I hope so many of you are able to enjoy it and go see it in person and just, yeah, no, I appreciate you listening to me ramble on, but next time you see me, we are going to be hitting the road. Hopefully have a better camera as well. We'll see. But yeah, all right, guys, it's been real. Let's hit the road. Good? Yep. All right. So we are just leaving the in-laws' house on our way to Rochester to drop this Droideka off. We've got everything packed up in the back. We got the two kids packed up. My beautiful wife is recording for me right now, so say hi.
Hi.
And yeah, no, otherwise, is there anything else I should inform them of right now, babe?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So doing good that way. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not really looking forward to saying goodbye to this thing. I know I've said that a lot already in this footage, but we're actually recording on the new camera as well, so we'll see how often I get to use this. There's actually a bit of a deal for this camera where I work for an organization that we've started doing podcasts and a lot of other social media stuff for, and one of the stipulations with it is that I actually get to use the equipment when it's not being used for other stuff, for my own personal projects and whatever else. So I'm gonna try to use like the equipment as much as possible, that like realistically. So you might notice on the channel me flip-flopping between like this camera, which is a Sony ZV-E10, and my phone every so often. So we'll see what all happens that way, but I'm really looking forward to the changes that are coming along in this channel, including the next build of the Super Battle Droid, which I got some awesome awesome plans coming for that. So stay tuned. I will see you guys all in Rochester at Nerdin' Out, and yeah, just stay tuned. Spot where we're gonna put the Droideka. Let's get the sucker in here, get going.
It's just like an engine.
There you go.
I know it does.
It does.
That's exactly what Bailey said too when I had it on the table working on it.
Do little videos.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I said little, you take offense.
I don't actually take
Even to a
offense.
guy,
You
for
know
someone to
me.
say little to him.
Yeah,
you
you
get
say little
offended.
to a man, and it's
I saw your big videos. Sorry.
there you go.
I was like, that's it.
That's absolutely perfect.
I don't want to get in your frame shot, but if you
Oh.
need help, I'll help you.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't do my makeup today to be prepared for the camera, so.
Oh, come on, man. You knew I was coming.
Oh man,
Oh, you're going to be in it one way or another. You still got the website, right?
What?
You still got the website, right? That you can sell like anywhere.
We're
basically?
actually, my buddy's redoing it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's doing a whole new website for us and everything right now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still want to sponsor a giveaway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably announce that on this video then.
Perfect.